back 8. And believe it or not, that feeling was not only still present, it was even more powerful. It was as if the moment time somehow stood still and we were back to exactly how the place was held in the last Major League stock car race back in 1996. And once we got into the pit area, we talk about energy a lot. Energy, excitement, anticipation. It's been incredibly high for the entire Cars Tour season. And boy, I did not think it was possible to go up yet another octave in that category. And we have. And the drivers feel it.
Yes, they have. And we're going to feel it here as Tyler Gregory will be the first car that we'll have in single car qualifying here in the Pro Late Model division. Again, so many cars showing up, continue to break records in terms of the amount of cars that we bring out to the racetrack. It is 53, by my count, 53 Pro Late Models that will be competing for the top 35 spots in single car qualifying. We'll take the top 35 on time, and 5 will go out with provisionals. But Tyler Gregory will make his entrance here at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Got to talk to him a little bit yesterday, and running a limited late model here last year. Looking to take that experience to his benefit. Of course, as native of this racetrack, fitting that he goes out early. We'll see what his lap of record is. It'll be a 19.390. Tyler Gregory, that is where the bar is set for late model single car qualifying.
Next car on the racetrack, somebody who we've seen on track many a time, super late model competition, now adding his name to the ranks of pro late model competitors out of Hernando, Florida. The Mike Scott Plumbing Team, Greenbow Racing, Strange Oval, and 5-star bodies number 69. Driving for his own team, Michael Heim, coming through to complete his first lap on the clock. It will be a 19.798 for Michael Heim the first time through. Matter of fact, he is one of the drivers who will be pulling double duty, running the ASA Stars event that was rain delayed to later on this evening tonight as well. Going to have several laps around here. Is that of Michael Heim when this day comes to a close. Checkered flag for Heim, going to be second of the 2 cars that have been out so far. Lap of record, 19.753 for Michael Heim.
Next out onto the racetrack, see this number 6 car. At the Racing and Development, Ross Whitmer Chevrolet from Newton, North Carolina. The 14-year-old in George Phillips. And a hype around this young man. We talked to TJ Majors a little bit earlier, who does a little bit of coaching work with this driver, and optimistic about what is in store for this young man. First lap for George Phillips will go second fastest at a 19.652. He'll go second of 3 cars that made their way out onto the racetrack so far. Looking to improve upon a 6th place finish. The last time we were out a couple of Friday nights ago at Ace Speedway. Off of turn 4, sliding, as you'll see many of these cars doing all afternoon long, and he does go faster, but he is still second fastest at a 19.644 for George Phillips.
If the number 7 is your lucky number, the Pro Late Models have you covered. You will see several of them. In fact, this is only the 4th car to take time. Second time we've seen a number 7 on the racetrack. This one will be scored as the 7T. For a local driver out of Concord, North Carolina, in the Appalachian Moccasin and Church Carpet entry, this driver is Tyler Church, who comes down to complete lap number 1. And that will be 4th of the 4 cars that have taken time so far. Believe it or not, Church, even though he was entered in the season opener at Southern National, they had a motor problem that prevented that driver from taking the green flag. Looking to try to lock his way into tonight's Window World. Check that. The Harley-Davidson Crossroads 75 for the Pro Late Model entries. And that lap for Church will move him up to second with a 19.635 for Tyler Church.
One thing about these cars that are making their way out onto the racetrack, and of course I'm talking about the Rackley War entries that have both been so strong this year, and this one is piloted by the young man out of Lebanon, Tennessee, driving the Rackley Roofing and War Shocks Chevrolet. This is the 26 of Dawson Sutton. See what lap number 1 has for Dawson Sutton. He'll go right to the top of the charts, 19.358 for Dawson Sutton. This Rackley War group, I think, flexing their muscles the last couple of races with some of the strong runs you've seen out of this driver. And, of course, our defending race winner in the Pro Late Model division in Connor Zilish. Lap number 2 for Sutton, looking to put some insurance in the bank, but not able to do so. But yet he will stand at the top of the charts with that 19.358 second lap.
What's the expression? The trend continues. This is a familiar name, however, that is out on the racetrack in what will be strictly the 7 car here tonight. This very impressive youngster hails from Williamsburg, Virginia, driving for Accelerated Development in the RV Warehouse and WP Shocks entry. We're, of course, talking about Tristan McKee, who comes down to complete lap number 1. And that first lap will put him right between the other 2 7 cars that have been on the racetrack. This one third. At a 19.516, McKee comes into tonight's race, 14th in the championship standings. Also, one of those drivers who does have some experience here at Wilkesboro. Ran in a limited car at both events in August of 2022. McKee's second lap to second, and not far off the lap that was set by Sutton. 16 thousandths of a second off was that of McKee as he came to the line in P2.
We talk about coming into this race, a lot of drivers who are very familiar with the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour and both the Pro Late Model and Late Model Stock Division. This driver has been with us for a while. In regards to the Pro Late Models, this driver out of Nova Scotia, the 19-year-old driving the King Freight Lines Toyota. This is the number 13 of Austin McDonald. And a great effort by McDonald at Ace Speedway. Suffered a lot of damage at Ace Speedway a couple of weekends ago. Still rebounded for a 14th place finish. Has a season best of 11th at Southern National Motorsports Park. His first lap was good for 6th fastest. And to Brandon Willard he goes, and he will stand in 6th with a 19.658 for Austin McDonald.
Several drivers have been looking forward to the opportunity to race here at North Wilkesboro Speedway, and this driver will be yet another one for sure. The number 13 car coming into tonight's contest out on the racetrack. This is another 13. Many numbers are plenty throughout the field that we will see here tonight. This will be scored as the 13E out of Lumers, Wisconsin. Now, this is scheduled to be that of Nick Egan. However, timing and scoring is registering this car as Chuck Dills, who was involved in a crash in practice earlier today. However, we do believe this is, in fact, the Egan Motorsports Toyota, as Egan works his way off of turn number 4 down by the checkered flag. First lap was 8th of 8 cars that had taken time. The second lap will be the same. So checkered flag will fly, and that 13 will be scored in 8th position.
And plenty of drivers very busy this weekend. And this is one of the drivers that just hopped out of a super late model and making his way out onto the racetrack in a pro late model. The 46-year-old out of Hayden, Alabama, driving the Alabama Brick Delivery Ford. This is the 43G of Augie Grill, and so happy to have him here, but I don't think the other competitors are going to be so, as he goes right to the top of the charts with his opening lap, 19.342 for Augie Grill. He's running that ASA race with a beautiful Davey Allison throwback, and this car going to look good up front for now as he will improve on his second lap, 19.248. A great lap there for Augie Grill.
How about the mental fortitude for Grill to be able to have the opportunity to bounce back after being in that last chance race just a short while ago. Next up on the racetrack, out of East Parsonsfield, Maine, driving for Richard Moody Racing, the Richard Moody Construction, and Smokers Haven of New Hampshire, number 44S. This is Trevor Sanborn trying to make his Cars Tour Pro Late Model debut, and the first lap puts Sanborn up into the top 5. It's about 0.3 of a second off of the lap that was laid down by Augie Grill. As a matter of fact, Sanborn made a Cars Pro Late Model start in 2022. This will be his second attempt at a Pro Late Model event under the Cars banner. Second lap will be a tick slower, so Sanborn will round out your top 5 for now.
And unfortunately, this driver right here, not necessarily able to get the amount of practice that he would have liked to yesterday, but was able to make it out today. This driver out of Cumming, Georgia, has raced many a times at Mobile International Speedway a few weeks ago in this Pro Late Model. It's the 4H of Holt Halder. Talk about multiple entries. He will be one of 2 number 4 cars that we'll see out on the racetrack this afternoon. First lap for Holt Halder is 11th fastest with a 19.938. And so Halder looking for a big pickup here on his second lap. Again, we will take the top 35 single car qualifying times here in the Pro Late Models, with 5 other positions set by owner's points. In the second lap for Halder, he will go slower, So it is a 19.939 that 4H will stand on, currently 11th of 11 cars.
Next up, out of Ellicott, Maryland, driving for E33 Motorsports. Got a couple of teammates with him this weekend with very impressive resumes as this driver tries to make a name for himself in stock car racing. In the Paragon Navigator, Dakota Supply Group, and Page Construction number 5 would be that of Zach Fowler, whose first lap is 9th quickest on the board. Fowler has been steadily improving since debuting with this organization back at Southern National. Finished 20th in that first race. Last time out, picked up several spots to go from 21st to 12th at Ace Speedway. Looking to perhaps pick up a top 10 effort or more here tonight at the historic North Wilkesboro Speedway. Second lap, however, will be a little bit slower. Fowler will remain 9th of the 11 cars that have taken time so far.
This is one car, looking at it in practice the last couple of days, I think a lot of teams looking at how this number 35 is going to qualify in the freight auctions brave like Wyatt Ford from Pendergrass, Georgia. This is the number 35 of Seth Christensen. Been very, very strong in each of the practices we've had, and I think he shows you why. He goes 5th fastest on his first trip around North Wilkesboro Speedway this afternoon. 19.508 is the first lap for Seth Christensen. You know, we're generally accustomed to seeing a pickup on these second laps, but it hasn't necessarily been the case here at North Wilkesboro, but Christensen able to do that. He stays in 5th, but will now stand at a 19.452 and stay 5th fastest.
Next up, out of Burlington, North Carolina for JFCO Motorsports and the Professional Concrete Flooring Solutions and Fogelman Landfill entry. Driver who finished in the top 5 in both limited late model events held here last August. Driving car number 44, Justin Whitaker. Whitaker's first lap going to be 9th quickest, and in looking back at the success that he had here in August of last season, as he got a little bit high there in turns 1 and 2, I would imagine that Whitaker, who comes into tonight tied for 15th in championship points, got a little bit of pep in his step as he slides his way off turn 4 to the checkered flag. Second lap will be a tick slower that time through, so Whitaker remains in the top 10 in 9th for the moment.
Next up, out on the racetrack, you can see making his way off of turn number 2, driving the Jones Utilities, Jones Site Work, and Coops Automotive Chevrolet from Fredericksburg, Virginia, is that of the number 77 of Logan Jones. Lap number 1 for Logan Jones. We'll see if it clocks in, and it does. It's 7th fastest for the number 77, 19.619. That's where Logan Jones sits after his first lap. You can see Connor Jones, his brother, and his car being pushed out onto the grid for late model stock car qualifying here in a little bit. But Logan Jones will improve on his second lap. He bumps up to 6, 19.53 for Logan Jones.
Next car on the racetrack, a driver who made his pro late model season debut last time out at Ace Speedway. Going to be scored here as the number 07 on the ticker. In fact, was entered under a different number. The 24D was that of Clint King as he comes off at turn number 4. Let's check in with Jacqueline Drake, who's standing by with our quick time setter so far, Augie Grill.
I'm down here with Augie Grill. You're currently sitting P1 on the qualifying standards. You're a super late model guy, 2-time Snowball Derby champion. But I saw you get out of that pro late model and you had a big smile on your face. Just how good is that 43 today?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Never could get the balance on the supercar we wanted, so we kind of struggled in that last chance race. But this thing's been really good. We only ran one practice today with it, and I was pretty happy with it, but we were able to implement the things we learned yesterday on the supercar. So far, so good. I know there's still a lot of fast cars to go, so we'll see how we stack up.
There absolutely is a lot of fast competitors here today. Between the stocks, the pro, and the super, any competitor in general that you're particularly worried about?
No, come to these races now, half of them I've never even heard of or don't even know because these kids are coming up so fast. So the same kind of regular ones with the pros that we kind of deal with at Montgomery and places like that. So with a few others littered in, but I mean, there's good racers everywhere you go anymore.
Augie Grill, we'll see if you can hold on to that P1 spot and qualify.
Well, he does hold on to it after Caden Quapple makes his qualifying time. He clocks in at 6th with a 19.468. So Caden Quapple goes 6, gives way to this driver filling in for Isabella Robusto. Again, after that accident at Hickory Motor Speedway a little bit earlier on this year. Isabella, of course, we wish her the best in her recovery, but still not clear to race after suffering from a concussion in that accident. But Corey Heim, for the first time in 5 years, getting behind the wheel of a pro late model, and his first lap will go second fastest, 19.344. Let's see if Heim can take the top spot off of turn number 4, and he will not. He slows down just a hair on his second trip around, so Corey Heim at a 19.344 outside pole to Augie Grill.
Next driver on the racetrack, a bit of a late addition to the field here this afternoon out of Mooresville, North Carolina. Full-time driver in the NASCAR Xfinity Series for Jordan Anderson Racing. In fact, picked up a big win at Talladega Superspeedway just about 1 month ago. His father, Ward, competed here back in the Cup Series days. We are, of course, talking about the number 27B of Jeb Burton, who goes 15th fastest his first time through. Mentioned the fact that his father, Ward, former Daytona 500 winner, had made 2 prior starts here at North Wilkesboro in both 1994 and 1995 as Jeb, who ran the Icebreaker back in the winter months, now getting behind the wheel of a pro late model, and he will rocket his way up into the top 10. 8th for the moment for Jeb Burton.
Now out onto the racetrack, another one of these numbers and teams that has multiplied here in terms of the amount of 15 cars that we'll see. This will be the first of 3 that will make their way here in single car qualifying in the pro late models, and this is that of Luke Baldwin out of Catawba, North Carolina, driving the FurnitureByWalker.com Toyota for Walker Motorsports. Was very excited talking to him a little bit earlier about everything going on at this racetrack, and was very I think very in tune with exactly how this racetrack is operating and which lanes you want to run. And Luke Baldwin's time is a 19.557. 19.557 puts Baldwin in the 10th position.
Another one of the annual entries on the pro late model side of things, driving for the family-owned operation, the CB Partners, number 43 out of Stanley, North Carolina. This is Nick Loden, who is 13th in the championship standings coming into tonight's race. The unfortunate mark as he comes down to complete lap number 1 is he's only been able to get to the checkers once in the 3 starts so far this season. Team has been resilient, though, as Loden clocks in 14th fastest on the first time through. Let's pick up about 0.4 of a second to jump up to Augie Grill's lap time as Loden slides his way off turn number 4 back to the checkered flag. Loden, 12th quickest at the checkers, and he will try to stand on that time. Remember, top 35 locked their way into the show. Let's check in with Jacqueline Drake, who's standing by with Corey Heim.
Down here with Corey Heim, you're currently sitting second on the qualifying standings, 0.09 away from Augie Grill's qualifying time so far. What's your thoughts with the 28 and going into this feature event?
Yeah, I'm really happy with our race runs with Donnie Wilson Motorsports, and our Yahoo Camry's been good today. Thought we had a little bit more raw speed yesterday, but we've been working on the handling and getting it better with each session. So looking forward to the race.
You're one that's good at saving tires, typically for a long-run effort. How do you feel just about the abrasive surface? What's going to be the key to saving those tires?
Yeah, it's polarizing because, the racetrack's so abrasive, but you also have only a 75-lap race. So it's kind of just you want to go and stay up front, but you also know that this track's going to tear our tires up. So, I'll be the first one to learn whether, my strategy's good or not.
Well, good luck to you this evening. Number 28, Corey Heim.
Corey Heim, definitely one of the favorites that we'll have to look out for. And I think when it comes to 2023 in this pro late model, I don't think you can look past that 15 car in Mike Hopkins either. He sits 6th right now with his first qualifying lap, and the second one is just a tick slower for Mike Hopkins, but nevertheless a solid qualifying lap for a driver we've seen go to victory lane multiple times early on in this campaign.
Next driver on the racetrack out of Archdale, North Carolina, for a family-owned operation in the Lauder Construction Incorporated and Lauder Steel, number 63, 2022 Carolina Pro Late Model Series champion Josh Lauder, coming down to complete his first timed lap. First lap for Lauder, going to be 12th fastest of the 19 cars, making that 21 cars. In fact, 23 will be Lauder. Lauder is the 23rd car out on the racetrack. While we're away, Brian Kruzek, in his second start of the year, timed his way in tonight as Lauder comes off at turn number 4. Brandon Willard's got the checkered flag in hand, and Lauder will round out the top 10 for the moment. Car number 63, P10, as qualifying continues to click off.
That it does, but one driver that we have our eyes on here in the broadcast booth, especially after practice a little bit earlier on today. This was the fastest car in practice a little bit earlier when everybody pretty much stickered up and put some tape on to go out and run some qualifying times. It is the 2019 Nashville Fairgrounds Pro Late Model champion out of Franklin, Tennessee. It is that of Jackson Boone. And a correction there, that'll be Corey Casagrande, who makes his first lap here. Qualifies in at 23rd, a 19.856. Even the numbers confusing me up here a little bit, as Casagrande will go faster up to 21st, the 19.733.
Next car on the racetrack, another one of the annual entries. This one for Stillwell Racing, driving the Megabytes vending service, number 43H. This is Joshua Horniman on the clock. Joshua's dad, Matt, sent a note to Keely Dubinsky earlier this week about how special North Wilkesboro Speedway is to their family. As a matter of fact, Joshua's grandfather owned a race team that competed and won a NASCAR Baby Grand National race here back in 1974. Quite the return for Horniman and company to come back to a racetrack that has so much family history. This young driver who moved out of legend car competition with a big slide there in turn number 4. If he was looking to improve on lap 2, that's not going to be able to do it. 22nd for Horniman. He will have to stand on that first lap through. 22nd out of 24 cars.
Well, and if you look out at the Tyson leaderboard that is out in turns 3 and 4, the number that is underneath that one position is still the 24 car right now, and it was painted just like this back when it ran here in the final NASCAR Cup Series race in 1996. And a lot of fanfare around this driver making his debut start on an oval from Apopka, Florida, driving a Chevrolet, the number 1. Jordan Taylor, Rodney Sandstorm. I think there's a couple of different ways that you can go with it. Jordan Taylor running here in his debut start on an oval. He described feeling somewhat lost on old tires yesterday, but we'll see where he is when he stickers up and qualifies. And for Rodney Sandstorm, it's good enough for 15th fastest, 19.587 for Jordan Taylor out of 27 cars to make time so far.
We talk about drivers who are pulling double duty. This one will be doing so in terms of this Pro Late Model and a Late Model stock. As a matter of fact, the most recent winner in the Cars Tour Competition Pro Late Model ranks after being able to take home the victory at Ace Speedway. Driving the Chevrolet, War Shocks, Late Apex Storage Condos, and Rackley Roofing, number 25 out of Mooresville, North Carolina. Here is Connor Zilish, who comes through here to complete his first timed lap in 6th spot. Needs about a 10th and a half to overtake the quick time that was laid down by Augie Grill. Zilish trying to hold that car steady as he comes off of turn 4 to the outside retaining wall, and he will move up to 4th. Zilish, with a lap of a 19.361, moves up in the 4th spot, trying to keep the momentum rolling after grabbing the checkered flag at Ace last time out.
Well, and I think this is when things are going to get really interesting down there in the pits. It was about this time when we were cutting cars in single car qualifying at Ace Speedway in the late model stocks. You start to see a lot of tension down there in the pit area with a lot of these teams surrounding their race cars, and we'll see if Dustin Smith, driving the number 33, is up for that pressure. And after his first lap, we'll see exactly where that first lap will stand for Dustin Smith, and he goes just behind a couple of the cars that just clocked in. He's 16th fastest at 19.570. Checkered flag in hand. We'll see if Smith can improve here on lap number 2, and he's not going to do so. So Dustin Smith currently sits 16th. 29 cars so far have made their qualifying time.
Next driver on the racetrack, very interesting story here. This gentleman is, in fact, a race engineer at Front Row Motorsports. Initially, hails from Arizona. As a matter of fact, Peoria, Arizona is where he calls home, and he was able to celebrate a Truck Series championship with his team and Zane Smith in Phoenix last fall. Not very often does he get the opportunity to climb behind the wheel of a race car, but he is doing so here tonight at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Driving for RBK in the Boot Barn and Quick Response Garage Services, number 11, this is Dylan Capello. Well, the first time around, Capello is able to lay down a lap that is good enough for 14th quickest. Well, he'll be back to work here on Saturday for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series event. He slides his Boot Barn entry off of turn number 4 and will slow down just a little bit and remain in 14th position for now. Again, top 35 lock their way in on speed. Capello may be able to fall back on that lap time and breathe easy.
Well, and one driver that would be locked in should he need to sit on a provisional in the first place is this driver who's had some very solid runs as of late. Currently sits 4th in the standings and coming off his best Cars Tour run at Ace Speedway, qualified in 3rd and finished in 7th. That is that of this driver out of Mooresville, North Carolina, driving the North Creek Construction Group Chevrolet, 21-year-old in Brett Suggs, the third of our number 15 entries out on the racetrack this afternoon, and he goes 12th fastest with his first lap around North Wilkesboro Speedway in single car qualifying. Out to the wall in turn 4, right next to that safer barrier that was not here last August, and Brett Suggs will pick up one position. He goes 11th fastest with a 19.478. Going to be good to lock into the show for Brett Suggs.
Hard to believe that over $1 million was spent in order to outfit the outside and most of the inside retaining wall with that safer barrier, which surely makes things tighten up a little bit when these drivers come off the corner. Next up on the racetrack, after a very impressive pro late model debut under the Cars ranks at Ace Speedway, where he finished 4th, driving the number 88 out of Land O'Lakes, Florida, the BG Products and RCP America entry. This is TJ DeCare, whose first lap is not what we would have expected out of this young driver. 26 on the first time through, maybe, hopefully, saving the best for last as he gets back on the power off turn 4. Second lap will improve DeCare just outside the top 20. It will be 21st for TJ DeCare, who will have to hold his breath just a little bit longer to see if he can stay in that top 35.
Checkered flag is out for DeCare. The green flag is out for this 36-year-old hailing from Pardeeville, Wisconsin, driving the Assembly Products Toyota. This is Michael Litchfield in the 44L entry. Again, 3 number 44s out on this racetrack this afternoon. Lap number 1 for this car, number 44. I believe, yes, it is. It's going to be the best of all of them in 14th at a 19.518. For this driver's first lap. A long-time racer with so much success in the state of Wisconsin, and great to see the amount of interest in this race from different areas of the country, as his second lap is not a pickup, so Michael Litchfield will slot himself into the 14th spot.
Yet another 88 that we have in the field here tonight. This one out of Proctorville, Ohio, driving for his own racing entry in the Lucas Oil and RealTrick.com, Design Engineering Incorporated, and Max Custom Tie Downs, number 88L. Got that little gray ghost-looking paint scheme to it. This is Carson Lucas. Carson, a very talented up-and-coming racer in his region, now trying to trek his way a little bit further over down to this part of the country to see where he may stack up after being relatively new to full-fendered, full-bodied stock cars. Lucas's first lap was 34th of the 34 cars that have taken time. Trying to get the handle dialed in on these Pro Late models here at this very tough and tricky racetrack, and that lap for Carson Lucas is going to be a 20.191. So Lucas and company could be on the bubble here as the next car hits the speedway.
This number 58, driven by Johnny Crash, I guess is one way that he nicknames himself. Again, he got that nickname from his father while riding dirt bikes. This driver driving for Ben Kennedy Racing out of Texas. First call, Plumbing Chevrolet. And her first lap for Johnny Aramandia is 35th fastest. 20.556 as he washed well up the racetrack in turns 1 and 2. We'll see if there's a bit of a pickup here for Diaz, who will need some to try to work his way to the top 35. That car is all sorts of sideways off of turn 4. He does go faster, but will stand in 35th, which coincidentally, with one more driver to beat him, would put him on the outside looking in.
This car on the racetrack was exceptionally fast in practice earlier today. We mentioned him earlier out of Nashville, Tennessee, after getting an invite to run here after picking up a victory at the Nashville Fairgrounds. Driving his number 7B, this is Jackson Boone. Big slide off of turn 4, coming down to complete the first lap. And that is going to impact Boone's lap time maybe on both ends. That first time through for that of Jackson Boone as he came across the line to bump Carson Lucas out of the top 35. He's currently going to sit Boone currently within that bump zone as the second time through for that of Jackson Boone comes across in the 20th position. That may be good enough to lock him into the show, but a team may have been expecting or at least hoping for a little bit more.
As the pressure continues to ramp up here, you'll see this driver, the 27-year-old out of Loris, Wisconsin, and Nick Egan in the 13E entry, who just celebrated his 27th birthday this past Sunday on Mother's Day. So happy belated birthday to Nick Egan. We'll see if he puts that to good use here on his first lap of a single car qualifying. Standing at a 19.715 at the moment, 29th fastest, and he moves up to 28th with his second time, 19.673 for Nick Egan. So same thing, going to be a contentious couple of minutes for that driver and that race team.
Before we introduce this next driver, a little bit of housekeeping here. The other 13 car we saw on the racetrack earlier, that was Brandon Marhefka, a late entry to the Pro Late Model field, and he's currently 2 spots out of the bubble spot as Holt Halder currently sits in 35th position. This driver out of Conover, North Carolina, specifically targeting this race as an opportunity for both he and this homegrown race team. Driving the Battle Scarred Outdoors, Deep Cove Taxidermy, and Zeem Setup Shop number 03. This is Kyle Campbell, whose first lap through will put him in 22nd. We'll see what Campbell could do here on lap 2 as he bobbles a little bit off turn 4. Campbell is going to slow down just a little bit and remain 22nd for the moment. But the driver who simply wanted to survive Ace to get to Wilkesboro is pretty close to locking himself into tonight's race.
A couple of Nova Scotia natives in this one. We talked about Austin McDonald a little bit earlier, and this one is the 53 of Jarrett Butcher from the Atlantic Tilt Load Chevrolet for Butcher Racing. Of course, a big slide and nearly contact with the outside wall as he got way out of the groove off of turn number 4. It's good that he was able to hang on to that race car, but unfortunately for him, going to put him down on the speed charts and is likely going to ruin his second lap as well. Last spot on the racetrack you want to be giving up time is coming to your second lap, as Jarrett Butcher will sit in 30th for now at a 19.673. So Jarrett Butcher, again, going to be biting some fingernails these next few minutes.
Here is a name that longtime Cars Tours supporters and fans will certainly recognize after much success in super late model competition. In fact, he was a 2-time champion there with 9 wins over the course of his career. Out of Kannapolis, North Carolina for JCR3 and the CNC Boiler Sales and Service Incorporated, number 54, it is Matt Craig. Craig's first lap, 7th, about a 10.5 off of Augie Grill's lap time that has been pretty much unbeatable throughout the majority of this session. Craig trying to make his second Pro Late Model start of the season. After coming home top 5 at Hickory, he slides his way off turn 4, and he got all the good out of it that he could on lap 1. Matt Craig will remain 7th for now as more drivers start to get bumped out of that top 35. Joshua Horniman sitting on the bubble.
And looking to do just that is this 20-year-old out of Portage, Michigan, driving the Precision Fleet Image Chevrolet. Hasn't had a ton of time behind the wheel of this race car because he was so busy, at least yesterday, testing and practicing for the ASA Super Late Model race. It is that of Carson Hocevar. And Carson Hocevar's first time around as he takes the green flag is a 19.581 for Carson Hocevar. That's currently good for 22nd fastest. Again, we haven't seen many second laps be faster than the first, but Carson Hocevar, well, he's not going to be able to do that either. So Carson Hocevar just in front of Rodney Sandstorm with a 19.581, good for 22nd.
Like to extend a special hello to those of you who are watching across our social media platforms here on this preview on what is a jam-packed evening here at North Wilkesboro Speedway on FloRacing. Qualifying continue for the Cars Tour Pro Late Models, and the next driver up out of Breezewood, Pennsylvania. The NASCAR crew member in this region, Jordan Miller in car number 40. Miller comes through 37, 2 spots out of that all-important top 35 in the drop tine archery, Savage Roasters, and Miller Auto Body entry. Longtime competitor in the CRA Jegs All-Stars and Super Series. His pro late model appears to be a bit of a handful, and that second lap will not be enough for the driver who has not made a pro late model start under the Cars Tour, and he may not have enough owner's points to fall back on. He is 37th right now.
Just 11 drivers left to take time, and this one was the Bilstein Shocks Rookie of the Race a couple of weeks ago at 8th Speedway. Has had a handful of very strong finishes so far to start this campaign. That's her second in the series standings for now. As this driver out of Metamora, Michigan. It's a Team Chevy, Wheeler Trucking, and Autolite Frame Chevrolet. This is the number 81 of Katie Hettinger. Checkered flag in hand for this driver off of turn number 4, and we'll see what the time is for Katie Hettinger, and it is second fastest at a 19.258. Her second lap was clocked in at a 3.11, so Katie Hettinger outside pole position for that young driver.
So far, we have bumped from that top 35, Michael Heim, Joshua Horniman, Jordan Miller, Clint King, Brandon Marfka, Holt Halder, Johnny Aramendia, Carson Lucas. And on the bubble right now is Corey Casagrande, while car number 9 out of Weaverville, North Carolina for ALH Motorsports, Ashton Higgins, is on the clock. This driver has been a very impressive qualifier, and it proves there on lap 1, third quickest. In the Alliance Driveway Solutions and Leapfrog Landscaping number 9, Higgins trying to make another pro late model start here in 2022 with a big moment off the 4th corner, and he will fall back on that first lap to currently line up 3rd. So Higgins in the show by a large margin, P3 for Ashton Higgins.
Just 9 cars left, and well, the number 9 will try to make his way into the field. Racing in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series for his family-owned race team, has entered his way out of the pro late model ranks for the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour at North Wilkesboro. 2020 ARCA Menard Series champion is the 9H of Brett Holmes. And a solid-looking lap here off of turn number 4. And indeed, that will be good enough, I believe, to put him in the show. And it's good enough for 16th fastest, as a matter of fact. A 19.504 for Brett Holmes. So looking as if Holmes will make his way into the show. And indeed, he will. Checkered flag in hand, and he'll slow down on lap number 2. So Brett Holmes, 16th. Fastest. He goes just 5/1,000ths of a second faster than Jeb Burton, who sits in 17th.
Next driver on the racetrack has been very, very impressive in what has been quite the introduction to this style of race cars. After coming up in karting, moving on to forms of success in dirt racing, and also being a contender each and every time he's been able to strap into the Wilson Motorsports team. The number 24 out of Cornelius, North Carolina, in the gear wrench TRD entry. This is Brent Cruz. Cruz, it appears as though, may only get 1 lap there. That may be the result of something that was found in technical inspection, and that first lap for Cruz is going to be 29th. So with a handful of cars still to go, may hope to be able to beat a few more that are about to roll out on the racetrack.
Speaking of rolling out onto the racetrack, is this driver making his second start in the Cars Tour Pro Late Model Division, was with us at Ace Speedway in late model stocks, made his debut in a late model stock at Ace Speedway last week, finished 22nd in a drive for AK Performance. Last with us at Motor Mile last year. This driver out of Ligonier, Pennsylvania, driving the Trophy Tractor Chevrolets, the number 4 of Garrett Smithley. Smithley in that E33 Motorsports team, a lot to lean on in terms of the amount of teammates that he has out there on the racetrack. And Garrett Smithley will go 28th fastest at a 19.612 for his first lap. So close, but looks like it may be good enough for Garrett Smithley, as he'll try to find a little insurance, and indeed he does. He'll move up 2 positions just in front of his E33 Motorsports teammate in Rodney Sandstorm. So 19.582 for Garrett Smithley, 26th fastest.
Arden, North Carolina native in the Jeff Auto Sales and Cooks machine, and Bia Holdings, number 27 car, back for what will be his 3rd start in 2023, fresh off a top 10 finish at a speedway. This is Lee Tissett, who is on lap number 1 with just a handful of cars left to go here in qualifying. The time to beat continues to be that 19.248 set by Augie Grill, as Tissett now works his way off of turn number 4 to come down for the checkered flag, trying to make his way into that top 35. As Tissett comes across the line here, we'll scroll through the many cars that have taken time so far. One of the downsides of having such a fantastic car count here at the North Wilkesboro Speedway. And Tissett up into the top 10 in 7th.
And we've had that problem a number of times this year with the amount of cars that we've seen both in the late model stocks and in the pro late model. But with just a couple of drivers left to take their time, the next one up is this driver out of Cumpler, North Carolina, number 37 of Chris Phibbs, who raced a pro a little bit earlier this year at Hickory Motor Speedway, is making his series debut here in the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour. The number 37 of Chris Phibbs goes 48th fastest here, so we'll need a big pickup on lap number 2 to try and move forward, and he's not able to do so. So Chris Phibbs goes out late at his 48th fastest. Unfortunately, he will not be in the show.
Next driver on the racetrack, a car that we just saw out in a Super, trying to make the ASA Stars event here just a short bit ago. Driving car number 2 out of Jasper, Alabama in the Bolin Construction, Southern Music and Games, and E-Performance entry. This is John Tyler Bolin. First time through for Bolin, 42nd that first time around. About a half second off of the lap laid down by Augie Grill for pole. But the key pickup is going to have to be about into the 31st or 32nd spot if this team wants to exhale by the time he pulls this car off the racetrack for Male pole qualifying. Bolin with a significant pickup, 34th. That's going to be very close for Bolin, who doesn't have much owner's points to fall back on.
Well, and looking at this list, so many drivers are really high up in the owner's points. It's George Phillips that's on the cut line right now, Justin Whitaker, who's been out with us a number of times this year, and Austin McDonald. So you talk about 5 entries taking up owner's points. You're going to hope that a driver like this, who has been out with us all year long, is going to have a very fast time. The Top Gun Motorsports machine, the number 8 of Rusty Skews out of Mechanicsville, Virginia, will run his first lap, and it is 49th fastest for Rusty Skews on his first lap. 51 cars. He goes 49th at a 19.967. Checkered flag in the air. Again, he will need a big pickup. Really low there off of turn number 4, and we'll see where Skews goes. He does pick up by nearly 0.2 of a second, but still sits in 43rd. So it is crunch time here with just 2 cars left.
Just 2 cars left to go. And this driver, who hails from Wexford, PA, driving car number 02, frequent competitor in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, most recently for Young's Motorsports. This is Chris Wright trying to make the field. Wright will be the second to last car scheduled to roll out to take time, trying to time his way into what could be a huge event for him on the 2023 season. Wright's going to come around here to try to sew up his qualifying run. First lap was 40th. Needs 5 more spots as that of Wright. He's not going to get there. 37th for Chris Wright. Phillips able to hang on. Can he do so for one more car?
When I'll tell you one driver who is anxious right now is that of George Phillips, Justin Whitaker, and Chris Wright, because Luke Morey is high up in the owner's standings. He sits 6th. So would be locked in even if he doesn't get a top 35 qualifying time. But Maury, a driver out of Denver, North Carolina, piloting this number 49. We'll see if he can get in on time, or we'll have to lay back on that provisional. And lap number 1 is not quick enough for Luke Morey. 19.765 for Luke Morey. Again, 6th in the standings, has enough drivers in front of him that he would be locked in, and he may have to sit back on one of those provisionals to qualify for the starting field if he does not pick up significantly here on lap number 2, and he does not. 19.765 is where Luke Morey will sit, and the last driver in on time is George Phillips, as well as John Bolin, Eric, who was very close there his first time out. He barely sits in, and in fact was just 0.008 of a second to the good. That's how competitive this field is.
So Augie Grill grabs the Mahle Pole Award. The driver who came up 1/100th of a second short of that mark was Katie Hettinger, who was standing by with Jacqueline Drake trackside.
Yeah, right beside me here I have Katie Hettinger, the number 81 Pro Late Model, 0.01 behind the pole of Augie Grill there. You are walking around here with the biggest smile I think I've ever seen on your face. What's going through your mind?
Yeah, usually in qualifying, I struggle a little bit being more aggressive and driving it in, but I had a lot of confidence in the car today. My team gave me a fast car. We couldn't get a mock in practice, but we did pretty good on older tires. So I knew we had a good car, and I just drove it as hard as I could. So that was probably one of my best qualifying runs. It wasn't the pole, but we're really happy with the speed we have. We have good race pace, so we'll just go get them in the race.
As you've been with this team, the longer you go, the more confidence you've been able to build behind the number 81 team. What all have you been doing off the track in order to attack what you need to when you're here?
Just watching video, going over a bunch of that, talking with the team, just getting that mindset to be confident in the car.
Well, congratulations to you. You got a great starting spot for the feature event later tonight.
Thank you, Jacqueline. And again, Katie will be starting towards the front of the field. Unfortunately, and though, Eric, this is a problem that we've had. Again, it's a good problem to have when we're having to cut cars like this, but so unfortunate for so many of these teams who have looked forward to being at this racetrack so long, made the effort to come out here. And again, you could see that in the pit area. You see the cars lined up with the late model stocks that are set to go out to qualifying here in a couple of moments. But the pit area is just a bevy of humanity with trailers, with race teams, everybody out here, and unfortunate that we'll be sending 14 of those cars home in the Pro Late Models.
We'll be waiting for the officials to figure out who will be able to claim those 5 provisional spots. Once we have that information, we will pass it along to you. Late model stock qualifying is on deck. We are going to step aside here for a moment here at North Wilkesboro Speedway. We'll be back with more coverage of qualifying in just a moment.
Back with you here at North Wilkesboro Speedway. We have just rounded out single car qualifying for the Pro Late Models, and it is Augie Grill who's your quick time setter and wins the Mahle Pole Award. And why don't we hear from him as Jacqueline Drake is standing by.
Down here with Augie Grill, you got the Pro Late Model Mahle Pole Award for this Cars Tour feature event. You're trying to hide a smile underneath that beard. I can see you right now. But how excited are you to get that and lead this field to green at such a historic venue?
It's a pretty cool deal. I've been to every race they've had here late model-wise in the last 15 years, I guess. So it's pretty neat to be able to lead the field to green. Hopefully be able to lead a few laps and maybe take care of it for a little while and lead the last few.
Yeah, leading the last few would be good, right? Then you'll end up in victory lane. And I saw your crew over there, they're passing the plaque around, and they're holding it like it's a prized possession, which it is, right? Many of the racers here wish they could get it. But did you ever think North Wilkesboro, you would be the pole award winner?
I used to have a knack for qualifying. Now that I've gotten kind of older, I've lost a step, I feel like. But, you know, when you got a good car, it makes it easy sometimes. And luckily, I think this thing is pretty good, and I just did my job. So hopefully I can do it tonight, and we can come back with a bigger trophy.
Well, you did a great job. Augie Grill, he's going to lead the field to green later this evening. 75 feature laps coming up.
Thank you very much, Jacqueline. As Augie Grill, your Mahle Pole Award winner in single car qualifying in the Pro Late Models. And Eric, I think we're just set up for such a competitive race. We've talked at length about the competition in both divisions in the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour, and just taking a look at qualifying and how tight this field is. And I think even worth mentioning, the track is starting to heat up, and we saw a couple of drivers who put some really sporty times later on in qualifying. Again, I think by the time we get under the lights here in a little bit with these Pro Late Models, again, we'll have 40 of them out there. I mean, it's going to be one heck of a show.
One of the cool things when thinking about what Augie Grill was able to accomplish, we talk about how much history this racetrack has. Well, the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour on the Pro Late Model side doesn't have much history behind it. It's only the second year of this particular series tenure, and let's not forget that the pros weren't here back in August when the late model stocks were. So not only is Augie Grill a Mahle Pole Award winner, he's also now the Pro Late Model track record holder. So that's pretty cool for Augie and company. A lap of record of a 116.895 miles per hour with Hettinger in second. Ashton Higgins was third. Then it was Corey Heim and Dawson Sutton through your top five. Sutton's teammate, Connor Zilish, most recent winner, was in sixth. Lee Tissett, Trisha McKee, that is, Tyler Gregory, and Matt Craig through your top 10. And the drivers who are holding their breath, hoping that they have a provisional opportunity, include that of Justin Whitaker, Chris Wright, as well as Austin McDonald, Nick Egan, Jared Butcher, Zach Fowler, Corey Casagrande, Michael Hind, Luke Morey, Rusty Skews, Joshua Horniman, Jordan Miller, Clint King, Brandon Marhefka, Holt Hadler, Johnny Aramendia, Chris Phipps, and Carson Lucas, all hoping that somehow the arithmetic puts them in tonight's race.
The Pro Late Models are wrapped up. Again, late model stock car qualifying set to commence in about 10 minutes' time. It was a 3:30 originally scheduled time. You could see many of the cars lined up and ready to go. Again, all 38, or 37 rather, that will be competing will be locked into the field for tonight's 125 lap Window World 125. We will take yet again another short break here on FloRacing, but next up is late model stock car qualifying as we continue to roll on here at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Back with you here live on FloRacing for the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour and single car qualifying. Big slide for Andrew Grady. As Grady will be the second car that has made his way out onto the racetrack and will stand in second for now. 19.768 for Andrew Grady. And car number 1, Tate Fogelman, who made his venture out just a moment ago, sits at a 19.599. He will take the top spot as Millington will be the third car out.
Out of Statesville, North Carolina, and Leisure Time Rentals, Carolina Specialty Products, number 15. Driver comes into tonight's race fourth, make that sixth in the championship standings. Certainly going to be a threat to contend for the victory. The way in which this driver has been running, this is, of course, Ryan Millington, whose first lap was 15 thousandths of a second off of the lap that was laid down by that of Tate Fogelman. Millington, who has 2 top fives already this season. To add yet another one here, if at all possible. Second lap's going to be a little bit slower. He will remain on the quick time laid down the first time through. Fogelman remains the quickest.
Well, and early on in this afternoon, Eric, I think we get a good benchmark of where the bar may be set. This driver has won 3 Hedgecock Racing Pole Awards in 4 races and has 3 victories, which have been consecutive since we were running at Florence Motor Speedway a couple of weeks ago. This is driver out of Mooresville, North Carolina, piloting the number 8 Bass Pro Shop Chevrolet. This is Carson Quapple, and he will go to the top of the charts once again with a 19.421 on his first lap here in single car qualifying. This Junior Motorsports team and Brian Schaefer has been dominant so far, looking to continue and pick up off of his win here last August, as Quapple's second lap will be a little bit slower. So Quapple to the top of the charts at a 4:21. We'll see if anybody can unseat him.
Should be noted that time by Quapple was a little bit faster than what we saw last August. So we're going to see a new track record here today in the short history of this race. Next up, another member of our Touring 12 for the Solid Rock Carriers, number 24 for Chad Bryant Racing out of Manassas, Virginia. Mason Diaz, the runner-up in this race last season. Qualifying has been the struggle point for a very sideways Diaz there in turn number 1. First lap puts him exactly where he finished 1 year ago. Second, Diaz muscling his late model stock car all the way down to the transition in turns 3 and 4 to see if he could square up corner exit. And lap number 2 is not going to be any faster. Mason Diaz, P2 for the moment.
So Diaz goes to second. Again, 5 cars have made their time here in single car qualifying. It turns things over to this driver who's having a very quiet but competitive season. Has a season best finish of 4th at Hickory Motor Speedway, but currently sits 6th in the driver's standings. Out of Supply, North Carolina, this is the 38-year-old driving the Aaron Sales and Lease Ford. It's number 16 of Chad McCumbee. And his first lap, he'll unseat Diaz in second. 19.536 for Chad McCumbee, who last August finished 15th at this racetrack. And as excited as anybody to be running it off of turn number 4. We'll see what lap number 2 has for Chad McCumbee. They'll get the checkered flag from Brandon Willard. Again, we will not see a pickup on the second lap for Chad McCumbee. So McCumbee will sit in second with that 5:36.
We saw what his teammate was able to do just a short while ago. Here comes the driver who is one of the 2 tied for second in the championship standings coming into tonight's race at North Wilkesboro. In the Town Bank and Breeden Concrete, number 77 out of Hampton, Virginia for Chad Bryant Racing, Connor Hall desperately wants to unseat Carson Quapple for the Hedgecock Pole Award, and the first lap is 84 thousandths of a second too short. Hall trying to be one of the few who could pick up on lap number 2, if at all possible. We'll see if he's got a shot here on the far side of the racetrack in 3 and 4. Hall back to the gas, coming to the checkered flag. And as with just about everyone so far, except for 2 of the 7 drivers that have taken time, Hall slows down a little bit, and he will be second for now.
Well, and one of the drivers that is making his way out for the first time here in the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour has been in a managerial role, but has finally made his way out onto the racetrack, driving the Hunt Brothers Pizza Ford out of Bakersfield, California. This is the 47-year-old Kevin Harvick. He's looking for a little more after practice yesterday. He and crew chief Rodney Childers, and Kevin Harvick will go 5th fastest in his first qualifying lap, stands at a .594, and Harvick will elect to just make that one lap. So a veteran move there for Kevin Harvick, goes 5th of 8 cars so far.
The trend was already showing that everyone's slowing down on lap 2. Why not keep one more lap of good on these tires since we're bringing them down for the green flag? And Harvick will pull off with 1 lap complete. Next on the racetrack at Maysville, West Virginia, in the CR7 Motorsports number 97A, driving the ALL Construction and Grant County Mulch entry, this is Jason Kitzmiller. Kitzmiller, one of the drivers who was able to utilize a provisional that was laid in place by ownership standings after having select racers, including Dexter Knipe Jr. and Cody Robaugh, behind the wheel of this car, while Kitzmiller attended to some other motorsports duties, was primarily in the ARCA Menard Series. First lap for Kitzmiller, 19.938, about a half second off of the quick time that Carson Quapple currently holds as Kitzmiller works his way into turn number 3. See that car run way up off the bottom of the racetrack, and he burps the back tires coming to the checkers. Second lap through for Kitzmiller, not going to be much faster. 9th of the 9 cars have taken time so far, while another Cup Series competitor's on track.
Yeah, this driver had a lot of fun yesterday, was testing at Hickory a little bit later, or earlier on this week, I should say, but has an entirely new respect for these race cars. Knew it would be a challenge, but he is up for it. This is the number 28 out of Alva, Florida, and the talk of the town in the NASCAR Cup Series, driving the Am Better Health Chevrolet, the number 28 of Ross Chastain. And Chastain's first time is good for 8th fastest right now at a 19.679 for Ross Chastain, making his late model stock car debut in North Wilkesboro Speedway tonight. Wraps the bottom of 3 and 4 right around the kind of overlay that they have put and the patching that they've done to this racetrack, and Chastain will not improve on his second lap. So Chastain, 8th of 10 cars so far in single car qualifying with Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour late model stocks.
37 cars will be coming out for time. 38 were entered in this race. However, Harrison Burton is not going to be able to come out and make the call after a problem with his car. So with that, there will be 37 cars out here for qualifying, vying for the Hedgecock Racing Pole Award, and all of which will make the show. One of the veterans of the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour in the Elite Podium Performance, number 2. Big night for this driver and his local sponsor, Thunder Road Harley-Davidson, as well as Grand Atlantic, Ocean Resort, and Mincy's. This is Brandon Pierce, for the first time through, 8th on the stopwatch. Best race of the season was last time out at Ace Speedway. Started 4th and finished top 10 for the first time in 2023. Pierce is going to be one of the few who picks up on lap number 2. So Pierce now rounds out the 7th spot for now. Let's go down trackside and hear from Jacqueline Drake.
Standing right here next to Kevin Harvick and Rodney Childers. Rodney just handed a water bottle over to Kevin as he's going to go ahead and dissect just how his qualifying effort went. Kevin, we're just talking about it. How do you feel about that number 62 qualifying run? You're currently...
Well, we have a lot better race car than that. Great job with our Hunt Brothers Pizza Ford Mustang, and I'm so excited to actually get to be a part of everything tonight. Get to be a part of the division, see how it all goes, and learn how to race late models again. So this is the beginning of the retirement tour, so I'm looking forward to having fun.
I want to be a part of that. You have...
Thank you.
Thank you, Jacqueline, as we saw Cameron Bolin make his qualifying time here tonight. And Bolin, a very sporty lap for that young driver, goes 4th fastest with a 19.547, as we can see Connor Jones out on the racetrack right now.
Connor Jones, another one of the competitors who annual entry in his Pepper Jack Kennels and Fire Suppressions team, driving for R&S Race Cars. Coming through, first lap for Connor Jones, going to be pretty sporty. Up to second, he's going to be one and done. That is P2 for Connor Jones. 36 thousandths of a second off the pole set by Quapple as Jones moves up to the outside of the front row for now.
And out on the racetrack now, again, another one of our NASCAR Cup Series drivers who was, again, just thrilled after yesterday. They've had so much fun, many of these drivers, talking to them, and they're just tickled to death to be here and, of course, to gain more experience for all of the eventual activities that are happening with the NASCAR All-Star Race and NASCAR Cup Series, making a visit to North Wilkesboro Speedway. But again, Brad Keselowski and the Freight Auctions Ford from Rochester Hills, Michigan. His first lap is 11th fastest, 19.663 for Brad Keselowski. We'll see if he elects to make his second circuit around, and indeed he does. Looking for a little bit of improvement down to the bottom of 3 and 4, checkered flag in hand. We'll see if Brad Keselowski can pick up a couple of spots here, and indeed he does. He'll go to 9th fastest at a 19.599. So Keselowski 9th so far. 14 cars that have made their trip around North Wilkesboro Speedway.
Next driver on the racetrack, one of the most fun personalities you could find in the late model stock pit area because they're doing things the old school way. This is a family-owned team. As a matter of fact, one of the venues in which this driver works at is one of the primary supporters and sponsors, the Stell's Setters Sanctuary Ranch Farm and Kennel and Barnhill Realty Company. For the Conway, South Carolina native, Bryant Barnhill is on the racetrack. You talk about being tickled to death. He is so happy to be here at North Wilkesboro tonight, and the first lap is good enough for 8th fastest. The driver whose family has frequented the now defunct Myrtle Beach Speedway, longtime competitor at Florence Motor Speedway, and now looking for an opportunity to compete here at North Wilkesboro and find success. Second lap is not going to be that much quicker. It is Barnhill who is 8th as qualifying rolls on.
This driver stepped foot on property for the first time here yesterday and was just blown away by the history. And again, has been living in the United States for the last 11 or 12 years or so, and has just grown a great appreciation for visiting many of the historic facilities here, and is just very happy to be here. This number 99 out of Monterrey, Mexico, driving the Jockey Chevrolet. This is Daniel Suarez. The former NASCAR Xfinity Series champion will go 7th for now, 19.551, just in front of Kevin Harvick, who sits in the 8th position. Again, Suarez sitting on the pole for the ASA Super Late Model race a little bit later on tonight. We'll see if Suarez can pick up, and it's a big pickup for Suarez on lap number 2. He'll go to 3rd, 19.479 for Daniel Suarez. A big pickup here on his second lap as we get the Sundrop Chevrolet out on the racetrack now.
Driving for Junior Motorsports out of Mooresville, North Carolina, finished 3rd in this race 1 year ago, as you mentioned, in that familiar Sundrop Chevrolet that lit up the grandstands green here last fall. Dale Earnhardt Jr. trying to match the performance of his teammate Carson Kvapil, and the first lap for Junior is 10th. That is a 19.598 for Dale Jr. We saw this a little bit last year, as a matter of fact, where he did not necessarily qualify up towards the direct front of the field. But for the most part, Junior is going to try to pick up here on this second time by, and he will, to the top 5. One of the few to be able to move up into the top 5 positions. Dale Jr. to 5th.
So a couple of drivers now. We've seen big pickups on lap number 2, and that's something that we weren't expecting to see as we move Dale Jr. off the racetrack and makes way for this driver who was awfully loose yesterday in practice looking at that race car, but had a little bit of experience running in the limited late models here last August, as Landon Huffman out of Claremont, North Carolina, makes his presence felt out on the racetrack. And Huffman's first lap is 17th fastest at a 19.789. Again, ran 7th. It had 2 top 10s in the limited late models here at North Wilkesboro Speedway last year. Huffman, no improvement on his second lap. So of 18 cars, Landon Huffman for Nelson Motorsports goes 17th.
Next car on the racetrack is going to be that of Carson Brown. Let's check in with the current outside pole sitter, Connor Jones, who's standing by with Jacqueline Drake.
Standing by right here with Connor Jones, currently sitting second in the qualifying right now, just 0.03 behind Carson Kvapil. Look at all those names behind you. There's some big dogs. You have a little bit of a smile on your face. What's going through your mind right now and just the competition here?
The competition's really stiff. You got all these Cup guys coming here to get practice for the All-Star race, and it's really hard to compete with them. They have all the talent in the world, and we're still trying to learn. But all these guys at R&S really busted their butt, coming here, giving me a really fast race car, and I really appreciate it.
Well, Connor, currently on the front row right now. Let's see if it'll hold out to the end of this qualifying.
Thank you very much, Jacqueline. We'll see if he can do that, but a great qualifying effort so far for that car number 44 in Connor Jones. Of course, you saw the lap time that the 42 of Carson Brown was able to put up, the rookie of the race at East Speedway a couple of weeks ago, and we turn things over to a driver who knows what it takes to lead out here at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Was one of the fastest cars yesterday in practice, and he'll replicate that now. Second fastest for Minnie Tyrell at a 19.438, 17 one-thousandths of a second shy of Carson Quapple, who sits on the Hedgecock Racing pole and almost into the wall off of turn 4, and he'll lose a little bit on lap number 2, but no doubt about it, Minnie Tyrell knows how to get around North Wilkesboro. Second fastest for the number 81.
Next driver on the racetrack was the fastest car in practice earlier today for Top Gun Motorsports. Yes, this is the same driver, same car that flipped at Ace Speedway just a little under 2 weeks ago. Out of Mechanicsville, Virginia, here is Touring 12 driver Chase Burrow on the clock. And the first lap for Burrow will put him 10th. And while Burrow continues on his lap time, let's throw it down to Jacqueline Drake, who's standing by with Brad Keselowski.
Yeah, down here we got Brad. You're watching all the competition on the track, but just how is that 6th car performing?
Yeah, we were really good this morning. Changed tires and got a little bit tight, but I think they'll be really good for the race when the tires get wore out in the back and it gets real loose.
Saw you talking to Connor Jones, getting a little bit of advice there. What did he have to share with you?
Yeah, we're just talking about the balance to have to be fast, and I'm still trying to learn that. It's my first time in this type of car, so every day's.
Well, good luck to you tonight, Brad.
We'll see if Brad Keselowski is set for 125 laps later on tonight. Meanwhile, the number 98 has completed 2 qualifying laps here around this racetrack, and lap number 1 for Tyler Ankrum. It's good at a 19.895, so we'll need a bit of a pickup here as he goes 21st fastest, and he will pick up on lap number 2, but is still back there in 21st. So Tyler Ankrum will sit on his 19.826 lap time.
Out of Trinity, North Carolina, driving for Jimmy Moore in Racing, the Sterling Building Group, number 14, 2020 Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour Late Model Stock Champion, and finished 14th in his race in 2022. This is Jared Fryer coming down to complete lap number 1, and the first lap for Fryer is quickest. Jared Fryer with a new track record of a 19.360 to the provisional Hedgecock Racing pole, and is looking for more on lap 2. Fryer, who has been running a part-time campaign in 2023. Second lap will be a tick slower, and it will be a 19.360 for Jared Fryer, who jumps to the top of the charts.
And it has not been just for his pro late model efforts that has really turned a lot of heads when it comes to the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour. And this young driver who has hopped back into the late model stock car program, the 16-year-old out of Concord, North Carolina, driving a bow-tie sponsored Chevrolet, is the 57 of Connor Zilish. In the first lap for Zilish, again, he was one of our top contenders in practice yesterday. His first lap, though, is good for 19th fastest, 19.688 for Connor Zilish's first lap here in the late model stock cars. Off of turn number 4, Connor Zilish looking to pick up here, and, well, he is just one position. He goes in front of Ross Chastain. 19.644 for Connor Zilish puts him up into 18th.
Next driver on the racetrack, season opening winner at Southern National Motorsports Park in the Perrier Tank Lines and Blackgate Hunting, number 03 for the family-owned operation out of Raleigh, North Carolina. This is Deke McCaskill, who is 4th in the championship standings. While we are watching Deke's lap unfold, let's go down trackside and hear from Jacqueline Drake, who's standing by with 3rd place runner Minnie Tyrell.
Touring 12 driver Minnie Tyrell currently sitting 3rd on the standings for qualifying. You seem really happy about that. Your team is smiling and high-fiving once you got out of the car. What do you think about that qualifying run?
Oh, yeah, it was pretty good. I mean, I thought we had a pretty solid car this week. But, I petted the old girl Humpty, so she's been crashed and rebuilt a couple times. I told her I needed a good lap, so she put one down for me. But, I can't thank all the guys enough, so P3 right now is awesome. Hopefully we can stay there, and it'll give us a good starting spot for the race, and we'll see what we got for tonight.
Hey, I have to say, for a wrecked car you've been put back together, Humpty's doing a pretty good job. Congrats on a good qualifying run.
Really impressed with Minnie Tyrell, and again, the speed that he had here last year, if he I think if he can put that same speed and have the tire left at the end, Mini Tyrell could certainly compete for a race win tonight at North Wilkesboro Speedway. As we welcome out onto the track, he just completed his first lap in single car qualifying as that of Jacob Hefner, sent at a 19.703 and in 21st position. No pickup for Jacob Hefner on lap number 2, so that car number 95, at least for now, will slot himself into the 21st position.
The Mike Darn Racing number 10 out of Aledo, Texas in the Amplified Extracts entry. This is Caden Honeycutt, who finished 6th in this race in 2022. Not sure how many more times we're going to be able to see Caden behind the wheel of a late model stock car under the Cars Tour banner. Has made several Truck Series starts, but he is certainly someone who feels like he's got a piece that he can contend with here tonight. First lap, 12th for that of Honeycutt. Try to navigate his way off of turn number 2 and down the back straightaway. Honeycutt was someone who felt like he would have a great opportunity here tonight after they had to battle back from some damage sustained on the practice portion of yesterday's program. Second lap for Honeycutt, a tick slower. Let's check in with our current Hedgecock Racing Pole Award winner, Jared Fryer, standing by with Jacqueline.
Yeah, Jared, before qualifying, you told me I don't do very good at qualifying, and look at you now setting a track record here at North Wilkesboro. What do you think about that 14?
That was unbelievable. I knew it was going to be good. We had really good speed in practice, and we made a few adjustments here right before qualifying. I figured it'd help it, but I didn't realize it was going to be that fast. I was just hoping to be in the 40s and have a good starting spot, but to run as fast as we did there is amazing. It's just can't say enough about all these guys behind me that helped me and help put this deal together, not running full time. So hopefully that we can keep it up and race good now. So we've got one goal down under. We got to get one more.
Jared Fryer had to look twice at race monitor to make sure it wasn't broken after getting that fast time.
No doubt about it, Jared. You were fast. You have a lot to stand on there. As you can see, William Sawalich, car number 43, will put himself in the 9th position after making his 2 laps around. Some solid finishes for that driver, 9th and 6th. His last 2 times out in Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour competition, and turns things over to this driver out of Easley, South Carolina, driving the Aristocrat Toyotas, the car number 20 of Josh Dickens. It's been a little bit of time since Dickens has gotten some track time here in the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour late model stocks, as well he's been kind of hurt by the amount of competition we've had. Ran in the last chance race at Hickory Motor Speedway and didn't go through, and was 2 spots short of qualifying into ace into the top 26. But Dickens here, though, he'll make up for that as he goes 12th fastest and does have his fastest time on his second go around. A 19.55 second for Dickens puts him in 12th.
Yet another one of the drivers who you will be seeing racing on these hallowed grounds come Sunday night for the NASCAR Cup Series All-Star Race. This one out of Mitchell, Indiana, driving the Rush Truck Centers and Texaco Cutstone Chevrolet. Car number 5 will be that of the Chad Bryant Racing entry, Chase Briscoe. First lap through here for Briscoe. Comes across 27th for that of Chase, who was having a good time mixing it up with some of the members of the NASCAR Media Corps. As a matter of fact, Bob Parkhurst was down there getting a word with Chase before he strapped in for his one and only practice session earlier today. Lap 2 is going to move up to 24th in the Chad Bryant Racing entry. Chase Briscoe sits in P24 for now.
Turns things over to this driver who you could have argued could have contended for the win when we were back here last August. Of course, had issues with his hood that relegated him to finishing 26th, but was running up in the top 5. He started 5th last August. And that is the driver, the 03 out of Chesapeake, Virginia, and Brendan Butterbean Queen. And he goes right to the top of the charts by over 0.2 of a second. 19.125 for Brendan Queen. A blistering lap, and we'll see if he can do one better here on lap number 2. Queen at a 3:23 on his second lap would still sit on the pole by over 0.1 of a second. So new favorite, unfortunately, as Jared Fryver will move over, and Brendan Queen will sit on the Hedgecock Racing provisional pole.
That might have been time travel for Brendan Queen with how fast that lap was. You heard how shocked Jared Farrar was that he ran a 19.3. As you mentioned, Butterbean, a 19.1 as one of the hometown favorites here at this racetrack is on the Speedway in the Two Boroughs Performance Shop number 4. With Two Boroughs Brewing representing the venue where he quite literally grew up just across the pond. This is, of course, Dylan Wilson out of Wilkesboro, North Carolina. Of course, he hails from the Combs family, including that of Dean Combs, a 60-time winner in the NASCAR Dash Series. And this venue means oh so much to Dylan Wilson and his family. It'll be the second time he'll have a chance to compete here at North Wilkesboro, and his time lap is 28th fastest. This is just the beginning of a party for he and that family.
Yes, it is, and it was a party that was attended by, well, this driver right here on Monday night at Two Boroughs Brewery. There's a great gathering there of a couple of drivers, Brandon Pierce and this driver right here, driving the number 6 out of Madison, North Carolina, the Solid Rock Carriers Ford. This 30-year-old and 3-time defending Cars Late Model Stock Car champion in Bobby McCarty. Checkered flag in hand here for Bobby McCarty as he makes his way off of turn number 4, and McCarty sits in 7th fastest with that lap, 19.486 for Bobby McCarty. Puts himself into the 7th position and well inside the top 10 with just a couple of cars remaining.
One of the biggest movers in the race here last August. This driver started back in 27th, picked up 20 spots for a top 10 result here last time at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Out of Indian Trail, North Carolina, and the Miracle Dental Center and North Industrial Machine number 32. This is Zach Miracle on the Speedway. First time around for the Miracle Motorsports number 32, 26th fastest. Who proved last year that you did not necessarily have to qualify up front in order to have yourself a good result at this tricky and abrasive racetrack. Miracle down to the checkered flag. The second lap is not going to be much quicker. Miracle 26th with just a handful, make that 3 cars left to go.
3 cars left, and it'll bring out this driver piloting the Pimbleton Forest Products Toyota out of Amelia, Virginia. He's out of the 18-year-old and the former Valley Star Credit Union 300 winner in Landon Pimbleton. And he had a complaint, Eric, that I think a lot of drivers have had this weekend. He's looking for more grip. And I think that is going to be a very common complaint here at North Wilkesboro. And we'll see what his first lap is. I'd say it's pretty decent in terms of the grip that he has. It is 16th fastest with a 19.571 for Pimbleton's first lap around this 5/8 mile racetrack. Checkered flag in hand. Does Pimbleton go faster on lap number 2? He does not. He will sit at that 5.71, 16th fastest with 2 cars left to go.
Next up on the racetrack, driving the Jerry Hunt Supercenter, Affordable Heating and Air and Bassett Gutters, number 04 out of Lexington, North Carolina. This is Ronnie Bassett Jr. Blake and I had a chance to catch up with Ronnie a little bit earlier. Remember, he had a podium finish at Florence Motor Speedway, another gritty, tough racetrack. His confidence level coming into tonight's contest quite high as Bassett comes across to complete his first timed lap. Bassett's going to clock in at 32nd on the stopwatch with a 19.750. We'll see what Bassett could do as he bounces his way through turns 3 and 4. Driver comes into the night tied for 12th as Bassett goes to 28th as we have just 1 car left to go, and it should be a good one.
Yes, it is. The defending NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Racing Series national champion from 2022 and is largely here as a result of a conversation he had at Hickory Motor Speedway with Dale Earnhardt Jr. that said, you know what, we need to have the national champion in this race, and Lane Riggs making his 71st start in the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour, and we'll see if his lap can try and challenge Brendan Queen at the top of the charts, and for Lane Riggs, his first lap will slot himself into the 26th position at a 19.676. So looking for a little bit more off of turn number 4. He'll stay in 26th, so Lane Riggs will sit there. And my goodness, Eric, Brendan Butterbean Queen, we've talked about how close all of these qualifying sessions have been, but I don't think anybody could have anticipated 0.235 seconds being the difference between first and second. That is an unbelievable lap set by Brendan Queen, and let's hear about it as we'll toss it down to Jacqueline Drake.
Brennan, congratulations. You've got the pole here at North Wilkesboro in the late model stock. How does it feel? It looks like you're about to cry right now.
Well, one box I hadn't checked in this series was a pole, and we've been close. And this whole LPP team gave me a great bestrepair.net, leafcars.com Toyota tonight. And, you know, no matter what, we want to win the race, but we'll take the pole award. And it's cool because I can always say I was on the pole at North Wilkesboro in this kind of field. So I've been working really hard on myself to be a contender in these races, and the last 6 months, like we were talking earlier, has just been crazy for me, and I'm with a great team. You know, obviously these great sponsors that helped us get here, and my crew chief Doug Powers and the whole LPP team making great calls today. This is unbelievable to get a pole at Wilkesboro.
Yeah, earlier we talked a little bit about track position and just how important it is, but track position for you is going to be no problem. You're going to be starting at the front of this field. How are you going to volley and beat all these competitors with such big expectations here?
It's going to be tough. Like I said, the hard work's getting ready to begin. Be nice to lead a lap to start the race and then see what happens and hopefully lead to one that counts. I'd give up every lap to lead 125 and be riding that lift tonight with my team, and hopefully we'll be having a Waffle House dinner tonight.
All right, well, Brennan Butterby Queen, he's going to accept the Molly Pole Award, Hedgecock Racing Pole Award, for the late model stock Cars Tour division right here. And man, this Window World 125 plaque, these guys are holding on to them like it's gold here. We're at North Wilkesboro. You know what it means, everything about history and being at this place.
Well, and I know for Brendan Queen, he sits on the pole, but I think he says it all, that it's all about if you can be the leader on lap 125. And I think when you look at this Lead Podium Performance team and how strong they've been, how they're trending in the right direction. I think a track like this, you think about Florence and how strong that team was at an exceptionally abrasive surface. We talk about that in North Wilkesboro, and we'll be talking about it all night long. I think that team has put the rest of the field on notice that to get the checkered flag tonight, you're going to have to go through that 0-3